Hey there, this is Christine Landl, and I am with my sister, my best friend, my business partner, Jennifer Ream, and we are so excited to be here on yet again another platform that we are creating and another chapter, another piece to our journey.
The Well Podcast. This is Jennifer Ream. So excited to be here with you guys. Our intention for this podcast is all about sharing our love for all things wellness, holistic wellness that is. And we are here to uplift, plant some seeds, and support you on your wellness journey. We've always loved being able to be out there with our community, sharing all the things that we learn. And as we grow and learn new things, we love to put them out there, and maybe they'll plant some seeds for you and help you along your journey. So here we are. Let's get started.
Hey, welcome. This is Christine Landl, and I'm here with my sister and BFF and business partner, Jennifer Ream. And we are the Well Podcast, and we're so excited to be here. We're both health coaches, business owners of Well, the brick and mortar, and also love to talk everything about mind, body, spirit connection.
Yes, and that's why today is going to be all about that. And honestly, this is like my favorite thing. This is what I read about. I have been for years. I love to talk about it, and I love to connect with my intuition, and that is what we're going to talk about today. Connecting with your intuition, what does that even mean? For us, connecting to our intuition is about getting grounded and getting in tune with the real person that we are, who we are on the inside, who we are before we came here, and who we are going to be when we leave here. And that is, so that could be an interesting topic for some people, but for us, it's about getting past the chatter of the mind, which is to us the ego mind, the monkey mind, I like to call it sometimes, that likes to go off on rants and, wreak havoc sometimes and cause stress and anxiety in our body. That's not the intuition. The intuition is always peaceful and calm, and your place for respite, your place for that you go to connect with during meditation or prayer. It's the deeper knowing within you. And connecting to our intuition is actually something we set intentions around every single day. It's part of our morning practice. When we go into meditation in the morning, set the intention for the day, we connect to our intuition and ask for guidance, ask for clarity. And that is just a big part of what we do. But the reason why we really want to talk about it today is in 2021, after going through this year of 2020 and the craziness that we've all experienced and the heightened stress and the heightened anxiety and so much information coming in so many different directions, connecting to your intuition will literally change how you feel, how your day is going, how you're interacting with the world around you, the people around you. It will bring you back to that place of peace and center within you. And I think that's why we were so excited to jump on this topic today and really dive into it, and offer you some tips and tools and things that we do every single day that really help us to stay grounded during this really crazy time that we're living in.
Yeah, and I think what it comes down, at least it did for me before I started doing this work myself, is trusting your intuition and knowing that what the difference between that and your ego is and the external world. I mean, you have to do the intentional work with that to know the difference and to know when you're supposed to be following your intuition, which is always, but you have to go within to find that. And you have to kind of experiment again with that to know what it looks like. And so you really do have to trust yourself, because what can happen and what has happened, especially in this past year, is that we're listening to the outside world. And I wouldn't say we, because I mean, we do, we know our people, but we a lot of people are listening to the fear-mongering outside world and not our own intuition. Because if we were letting our intuition lead the way, it would be led with love. They would follow. You would align with the people that are bringing you truth and align with your truth, and which is a whole other topic with the truth part. But it's so important that you do go within and really get in touch with what your inner voice sounds like to you so that you can be led with that. And that's just, for me, that was a big game changer. I spent an entire year on trust. Trust was my word, trusting myself. And I had to really listen and go with times when I would listen and see how that worked out and times when I didn't listen. I have a great example. Yesterday we were at Vibe. I was at Vibe working, and someone came. This is a really simple example, but I feel like it will give you an understanding of what I mean. But somebody came to pick up an order of juices that she had placed with the previous shift. So the juices were in the cooler, and one of our staff members was getting the juices for her. I heard clear as day in my head, you should check her order. You should check her order. And because none of us that were there put that order together. And so, I mean, it was like so clear. Well, did I say anything? I did not say anything. And I let our staff member give her bag, 2 bags, without looking inside of them. Even though I heard this clear message, I let it happen. About 20 minutes later, she called us and said, I don't have my shots in the bag. And I said to the girls, I literally heard the message that you should check her bag. And so it was one of those, so I explained to them, and it wasn't so I could like come down on them in any way. It was explaining to them, my intuition said, check her bags. I would have avoided a mistake. Mm-hmm. We would have avoided her going home and not having her shots, which is such a bummer for her and so disappointing for us to disappoint a customer. So it's those little experiments and those little moments that you can check yourself and trust your intuition. Mm-hmm. It is that small. Like it's those little moments, but it's also the really big ones where you have to make really big life-changing decisions and you have to trust yourself. So it's those little moments that help you build that trust.
Right. And not only that, but I think that most people were not trained to do this. It's never talked about when you're younger. We are born with it, but then we forget how to do it and we lose it and nobody talks about it. So you go through life and you block that voice out because you're so busy doing life and you're always thinking about the next moment and not the moment you're in. So when you're thinking about the next moment, not the moment you're in, you now don't necessarily hear what you heard. Mm-hmm. However, you hear it because you have practiced it for so long. You have taken the time to go quiet and really listen. And that is where the more you practice it, the more you'll hear it and you'll know the difference. You'll be like, okay, when you hear that, you'll know that was my peeps above. That was my intuition. That was whatever you want to call it. We call it intuition. We call it really, for us, it's our soul. It's
our guides are there, our angels, God.
Yeah, it's our deeper part of us. And we hear it and we know the difference now between what the mind and ego is saying and what the intuition is saying. And it's such a distinct difference that the more you practice hearing it, the easier it becomes. And I think that's what for you, like that is, it's a perfect example of that happening. Small. It starts small, right?
I think you make a really good point though, because when you say that we were born with this intuition and we forget it, because if you think about it, growing up, we're being told what to do all the time. We're not often, and we do try to do this with our kids now. This is something that we are aware of, but thinking back to our childhood and thinking back to the school system and I don't know, the way the government governs us and all of these things. Right. It's here's where we're going to tell you what to do. This is what's best for you. And this is what you should do. But it's like really so important. Well, what do you think about that? What is your gut feeling? Mm-hmm. How do you feel when that makes that? And what is it? When you think about that decision, how does that make you feel? And so you connect all those dots and you listen to yourself. But as kids, you get that taken away and you have to relearn it as adults.
You do. Yep, exactly. I'm so grateful that wisdom came to me in my late 20s and early 30s. Well, I shouldn't say the wisdom. The information came to me through books and reading and the right teachers at the right time. And because it did help me, and I always use the language with my kids, what's your gut say? What's your gut check? Because they can relate to that a little bit better than this is your intuition. And, I think you could definitely have that conversation. But for me, it was always like, what's your gut check? What is your gut is telling you? And if they have made a bad decision, I would say your gut probably told you that was a bad idea, but you did it anyway. And you can definitely always relate to that feeling. So what we have found, though, really is that when we practice connecting to our intuition and we stay honoring that truth, our life flows in a way that is so beautiful and so much more in harmony and how it really is supposed to be. That doesn't mean there's not lessons and challenges that come up, because that's part of the journey as well. However, we can navigate it with a little bit more grace when we are being guided through our intuition and not reacting and making a decision based off of stress or anxiety. And I think my favorite analogy, and we use this a lot with our clients, is, are you flowing downstream or are you trying to swim upstream? And you can tell in your life right now if you are swimming upstream or if you're flowing. Because if you're swimming upstream, shit's just hard. It's just harder. Things are not going well for you on all different. It could be as little as like you picked the worst person to check you out at the grocery store. They're just in the worst mood and they're mean and nasty, and you're like, damn, why did I get in that lane? Or it could be the simplest little things. If you look at it, is like a constant, like almost like a constant roadblock.
And it's a vibe you're carrying.
It's a vibe you're carrying. You're in the swimming upstream of life instead of like surrendering and like getting in touch with that more peaceful, grounded space within you and starting your day there. You start to flow downstream with life, and it becomes so much simpler and so much easier to stay in that peaceful place. And honestly, what happens is when the shit hits the fan and things are stressful, which it happens to us all the time, it's just a matter of like, okay, I can go home. I can do what I need to do to practice reconnecting to my intuition, reconnecting to that peaceful place within me. And it gets easier to do that. So I think that's an important part to remember too. Like the more you do it, the more you practice this, the easier it becomes when things are stressful.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to know that the things that are challenging and obstacles, and those are going to come up regardless of you're in a state of peace or not. It's almost like I always look at it, oh, okay, I'm being challenged today, and I need to practice my reaction, or my lack of reaction, I guess is the word. And so I noticed even last week where I was being challenged with something, and I went home and gave myself some quiet time. I actually gave myself a few days, and this has happened twice in the past month. I've given myself some time to just be and not have any sort of reaction around it, and listen to what my intuition had to tell me. And when what it had to tell me, and when that happened, it was like everything came from a place of love and compassion. And I was able to forgive really easily. It was the first time in a long time I've been able to just like let something go. I'm one of those people who, Jen knows this, I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I take everything personally. I used to anyway. And so it was really hard for me to let things go. And it really would add up into this big stressful physical ailment, many times manifesting inside my body. But when I like you do the work and you really listen to your intuition, things come from a place of love and peace and harmony, and you're able to forgive and you're able to let go and not react. And I think that's really important to, again, like have those tools so that when things do come up, you know what to do. And I think it's another point with the, swimming upstream. A lot of times a good example of that is when you feel like you're forcing something. And that word is always like, to me, a really good example of swimming upstream. It's like you're trying something and you're trying it again and you're trying it again and you're trying it again. And it still feels like, oh, hi, this is not working. You're forcing it. You're efforting. And so when you're overly forcing or efforting, that's when you're swimming upstream and things just aren't in alignment. So I love to start my morning, and I usually write this in our little journal, but is connecting, and my intentions are to be surrounded in peace no matter what, to have harmony around me, and to feel love and to love myself. So there's all of these things that you can do in the morning to connect with your intuition, your soul, and love ultimately. But it's setting that intention at the beginning of the day to have that around you too. It helps with the flow of the day, and when you get out of flow, to get back into it.
Yeah, and for me, and Christine knows this is my favorite thing, is I do free writing with my intuition. So I will do this as much as I need to, but usually in the morning, it's my intention is like I'm setting my intention. I'll write, what do I need to know today? And then I just sit and I close my eyes and I listen. And whatever comes to me, I write. And if I really need to get grounded for the day, or if I'm having, some stress in my life, I will literally get my bigger journal out, and I will kind of close my eyes and say, what do I need to know now? Or I'll ask specific questions about what do I need to know about this. And so I close my eyes, and then I start free writing, open my eyes back up, and I start free writing what comes to me. And I don't even think about it at all. I just write, and I don't stop until I feel like it's complete. And sometimes that's a paragraph, and sometimes that's multiple pages. And for me, this process, I've been doing it for so many years. It is my go-to. I trust it. Everything that has come to me has always comes to fruition, or always leads me in the right direction. And it always guides me in a positive way. And so I know that that's coming from my intuition. It's coming from my soul. And some might say it's coming from the God-like part of you. So that is my favorite way to connect with my intuition. And then, like Christine said, the more you practice that, like during the day, you'll know, like, it never is a stressful voice. It never is negative in any way. It's always the quiet whisper of a peaceful, like, knowing.
And a lot of times it's a very short sentence or one or two words too, when you're asking your intuition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, that's just like, this is just so important right now, because what we're noticing is that there's so much information coming that people around us, and ourselves included, are getting bogged down with false information. And
I think that comes from the whole conditioning that we've had for our whole lives too, and where we used to get information was okay.
Right.
It's not the same anymore. So I think there's that whole piece that people have to unlearn a lot.
Yeah, and just be so mindful of where you're getting your information from, and really don't, even if it's mainstream, even if everyone around you is going with it, and something in you, if you take the time to stop and really ask, does this resonate with me? Be honest about that. Honor that. And that's where this past year, this tool has become a game changer, because our knowing and our truth is not mainstream. And at first it was very difficult and very challenging and very scary in a lot of ways. But then you just learn to trust it. And once you learn to trust it, it becomes like a place of peace, and you're open to hearing other points of view. Of course, you're open to being compassionate to where everybody's at, but when it comes down to it, your truth is your truth, and you trust it wholeheartedly. And that's just kind of, I think, where it gets you when you practice connecting with your intuition.
Yeah, and I think that word to me sticks out so much, is honest, and being honest with yourself. It comes back to trusting, but ultimately it comes back to being honest and following what your intuition says. And because it might feel easier to go with what the external world has guided you to do, but ultimately it will not be an easier road or easier in the end. it will always flow so much better. And you'll know that you're in flow when you get the synchronicities and you get the signs. And
I was literally just thinking that in my head.
oh,
I was
you gave it to
literally,
me.
I was telepathically telling you.
It just popped in. So
to
I
say
got
God
it.
winks.
Yes, and for those who don't know what a God wink is, it's one of our favorite terms that we've been using for a long time. We learned along the way, but God winks are the synchronicities, and God winks are the little breadcrumbs that you're being given throughout the day to follow me this way,
Or as some people
lead.
would say, coincidences, which it's not a coincidence.
No such thing.
It's a God wink.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're being thrown so many bones throughout the day, like so many. And if we're not paying attention, we're going to miss them all. And again, that's all connected. It's all connected. You'll see it, whether it's negative or positive. It's all connected with your vibe, your energy, and how you are flowing throughout the day. And whether you're listening to your intuition or you're being led by the external world. So we really encourage you to get in touch with this and to go within and to meditate and free write and pray and just really trust
Practice
yourself.
it.
Yeah. Get on this experiment with trusting your intuition. It is really, really a fun journey. And it's actually like laughable, like yesterday with that sign that I got, or not sign, that was a very loud and clear message about check that lady's bag. And I just kind of like always look up and I chuckle and I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I always do the same thing.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear it come in, like I'm walking out the door and something pops into my head, oh, you didn't grab this. I'm like, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for bringing it to me.
Yeah.
And I think one last point to make about this, and we would be remiss if we didn't go into this, is body awareness when it comes to being in tune with your intuition. So when we're in tune with our intuition, it's a feeling as well. And it helps you practice tuning into your body in such a really special and beautiful way that you can recognize when things are off. And I think that we haven't been taught to do that as well. So we miss the signs that our bodies are giving us when something is going wrong. And this is how disease happens. And it's that constant dis-ease within the body. So when you're connecting with intuition, you recognize the dis-ease, you recognize the stress, you recognize where you're holding on to stress, whether it's in your gut or in your neck or in your shoulders, in your jaw. You start to pay attention more to the signs your body is giving you because you're taking the time to do so, and you're asking your intuition, like, what is going on with this? Why am I having these symptoms right now? And you're really, really tuning into the body. And I think that's a huge blessing in practicing this.
Yeah. Trauma is held there in the body, and we have to physically release it and intentionally release it. I think it's as simple as the other day I was having a conversation with Samantha, my daughter, my youngest, and we had this conversation because to her it was as simple as her saying to me, we were talking about a particular person, and she said, that person feels really creepy to me. She's like, I feel off, I feel creepy. And so then we had the whole conversation. That is your intuition. That is God's way of speaking to you to let you know that something's not right. And so we went down that whole, conversation, but it is as simple as that from a children's terms. But even as an adult, that's how you can make your decisions too. Like, do I feel constricted and stressed and tense jaw and, all of that when you're making a decision, or does this feel light and energetic and joyful? So
Yes.
that's how
our body tells us. And so that would be one, I think, tip and tool I would share out that you could use just to start to pay attention to when you're tuning in and when you're not. Like, really check in do a body check. How are you feeling? How are you feeling around this topic? How are you feeling around this person? And then you could go back and you can dive into it more. You can free write about it. You can meditate on it. You can pray on it. You can dive into that a little bit more and see what it is. It could be, like you said, it could be a trauma from a long time ago that you still have some work to do to release it.
Awareness is key.
Awareness is key.
Yeah. And that's how we should end it right there.
Yeah, I think that's a good spot.
Yeah. So the only way to be aware is to go within, and awareness is where it all starts, and it's never too late.
Yes. So if you have any questions, this is a big one we dove into today. For some of you, it might not be. For some of you, it might be the first time you're hearing about it. So you can reach us at drinkjuice@vibewell.com. You can check us out on Instagram, where we share lots of fun memes and things around this topic. Reminders, I should say. We send you little reminders. VibeWell Lifestyle is Instagram, and we're at VibeWell on Facebook. And hit the subscribe button and share this with anybody that you think would benefit from listening to it.
So thanks for joining. We're so grateful for you, and we're grateful for doing this journey together.
Lots of love.
Bye for now.
Peace. Thanks again, friends, for joining us today on our latest podcast episode. We love sharing this with you. So please share the love if you feel called to all your friends and family.
And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on what we're going to talk about next. It's always so juicy.
And of course, you can find us on social, Instagram, VibeWell Lifestyle, and VibeWell on Facebook. Love y'all.
And if you're in town, make sure you stop by and see us at VibeWell too.
Yeah, we would love to see your cute face.
See you soon.
Bye.